Great White Hot Sauce. It's a small batch, handmade hot sauce, made specially for you. So if you like hot sauce, you'll love Great White Hot Sauce. It's the hot sauce that bites back. Find it at www.trygreatwhite.com. So in this episode, we're talking about technology and music. Going from the phonograph all the way to the MP3. So I figured, in honor of the technology and music episode, I would change my background music, since I do make the music for the show. See, technology and music. And as we all know, I do love synth, so there's that. Enjoy the show.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
The KOFB studio presents Milk Crates and Turntables, a music discussion podcast hosted by Scott McLean with his co-host Jack Calabrese. Now, let's talk music. Enjoy the show.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction as usual, Amanda. Welcome to the podcast. You know the name of it, so I'm not going to say it. I'm in a mood tonight. Scrambling right before the show. I was supposed to do a second live stream tonight, but I decided not to since my stepson's back from college and going to hang out with him this evening. But before I hang out with him, I just want to let you know that we are streaming live over Facebook and YouTube. If you want to get in touch with the podcast, you can email us at Jesus, I always screw that. milkcratesandturntables@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, comments, critiques, anything you want for the show, email us. If you like this or you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. We would appreciate that. Share it if you're on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube, again, watching this, hit that little bell next to subscribe. You'll get alerted when we go live. And thanks for listening on whatever podcast platform you're on. See, a lot of people would do that after the show. I do it before because the audience comes first. You know who doesn't come first? My co-host, Jack Calabrese.
Dude, that sounds filthy. Why would you say something like that?
Hey, should I start you all over again?
You are in a mood. Although you were in a bad mood last week.
I was not in a bad mood.
Hey, I listened to the show. Never mind the disparaging comments about me.
It's easy.
Picking on me. Look, I got to feed my family. I'm just a poor immigrant worker going out into the fields every day, gathering just enough to sustain my family. And what do I get? I get criticized for it. On air and recorded for all time and for all people to hear.
It's never going away. It's
just not right. But even more than that, you hate Jethro Tull, you hate Santana. You were just raging.
That was my opportunity to rail without you injecting, going whoa.
By the way,
what didn't happen last week? What did not happen last week?
By the way,
no one called me an idiot. No one called me an idiot.
Look, I get it. You don't like Jethro Tull. That's fine. But I mean, you can't disregard the fact that they've been around since 1967, 60 million albums sold, and they're still kind of around. But you had to go deeper. You had to go deeper. What? You had to go deeper, hopping around on one leg.
Yeah, the one leg with the flute. Fucking flute. They could be around as long as they want.
Hey, you know what? Look, I have to say, I mean, it sounds like I'm defending them, and I am to a certain extent, but I'm not really a big Jethro Tull fan.
No.
But still, we are a podcast that really celebrates music, and you were not very celebratory last week.
Well, we are a podcast that speaks the truth also. So I chose the truth last week.
I just, when I'm just sitting here
Hey,
awaiting.
I'm saying all this.
I'm eagerly awaiting the Jethro Tull Santana compilation duet record.
The show we're going to do on them. I sit here and rail against Ian Anderson, but meanwhile, he sits in his castle in England laughing at me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Good job in your little studio. It's not that little, but it's a little yeah, good job, guy. Yeah. As he plays his flute.
You don't like any of their music at all?
I like Aqualung. I like, there's like 3 or 4 songs that I like. Like Santana, I think there's like 3 songs I like by him. Omo Kovowa, whatever it is not one of them. Black Magic Woman, I'm sick of hearing it.
What was that first one?
Omo Kovowa, whatever. See, shows you I don't really listen to it.
Oyo como va.
Yeah, Oyo como va. Yeah, Oyo Lavole como va. Yeah. So.
Ah, Bon Pan.
Yeah.
Ah, Bon Pan.
Yeah. Panera.
February.
Okay.
February.
It's February. It's February. That's right. I was right.
So,
you were wrong.
all right. So, just for the hell of it, let me see if I can think of any Jethro Tull songs to throw at you. Tell me whether you like them or not. You already said Aqualung. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
What about Locomotive Breath?
Locomotive Breath. Yeah.
How about Living in the Past?
Nope.
You don't like that song?
Nope.
Wow. Thick as a Brick?
Stupid song. Flute song. It's a flute song.
Cross-Eyed Mary.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right, people are asking me, they thought I wasn't on tonight. I'm not on my second live stream tonight. So, I might have to say that a couple times during this show. Hey, I got a question. It's more of an observation, and you can comment on it, I would think, probably. So, did you ever notice that the kiss of death for a band, and I thought of this the other day when I was driving, I heard this band. The kiss of death for a band is always the label, they are the next. Always the kiss of death. And I was listening to The Alarm, who we both really like The Alarm a lot. And The Alarm was at one point touted when they first were, they're the next U2. I remember just hearing, they're the next U2.
Sure.
Kiss of death. Absolute kiss of death. And the other group I can think about, they were the next Beatles. Well, we heard that a ton of times, right? But Badfinger. I mean, they even sang like the Beatles. They just, no matter what you are.
Whoa. Yeah, you know what? You know why they sounded like the Beatles? They were on Apple Records.
I know, but Bad Company was on Swan Song. They didn't sound like fucking Led Zeppelin.
Nobody sounded like Led Zeppelin.
And nobody
except for Greta Van Fleet.
Who, by the way, tickets went on sale for Greta Van Fleet. And I went online.
Did you just say Greta Van Fleet?
Whatever they are. Fleet. Greta Van Fleet. It's another group I don't particularly care for.
By the way, Dave Phillips just hit the nail on the head. You know what the problem with Badfinger is? They sucked.
They sucked, yeah. Now, I know The Knack was called the next Beatles, right? So do you know of any bands, can you think off the top of your head? And it's not a trap question, but there's not a lot of bands that have that they are the next label that was attached to them. Can you think of any?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I remember hearing about, the Black Crowes being like the next Stones / Faces.
Faces would probably be more. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of, they definitely drew upon those elements.
Yeah.
And I actually think that the comparison really hurt them. And I think that people actually, for whatever reason, turned against them. and said that they were actually ripping off the Stones of the Faces sound, which, I was never a big fan of those arguments. I think, I always thought that if you were influenced by them, if that's the type of music that you like, then hey.
So let me ask you this then. In the topic tonight,
Coldplay was regarded as the next U2.
Yes, because he sounded like Bono with clocks. I remember having an argument with my son, and I'm like, that's U2. He's like, no, it's not. You don't know what you're talking about. That's U2. No, it's not. I told him, shut up. It's U2. And they think, that was Coldplay singing clocks. Shit. Right?
Well, I don't think, look, I like Coldplay. I think they're actually a better live band than they are in the studio, but I don't think they've ever lived up to being the next U2.
So I remember some years back, they played, I think, Boston. And I believe you were part of, you got tickets, and I think our friend Tal went with you.
Yep.
And it was so seeing you two over the years, you can attest to this. It was kind of there was a big vibe to it. Like, it was like an event. You know, just the whole, at the beginning and then in the middle, not toward the end. It was always had that feel to it. Like, this was no. Well,
no.
That's how you guys were touting Coldplay. So I'm glad.
No. That's not why I'm shaking my head. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you, especially in the early days of seeing U2 before they were, the world's, greatest band and everybody was in love with them. When they were, first coming up, and they were definitely far more humble and far more earnest in their musical approach. They weren't big glamorous rock stars, and they didn't have the lights and the lasers and all that stuff. They didn't need it back then. They thrived, and they were fueled by their own desire to be, the greatest rock band, and they lived up to it. I mean, there were people back in those days in 83 and 84 and even 85 where people kind of looked at seeing U2 as a quasi-religious experience.
It was an experience.
Which brings me back to the show last week,
where
once again,
let me interject for 1 second. Jack doesn't listen to any of the podcasts that we do, but the one I do without him, he's really interested in that. I know he's gonna bomb without me. I know he needs me. He's gonna bomb without me.
No. What did I say? What did I say after I listened to it? I was like, you know what? You don't need me.
I do need you, Jack.
As a matter of fact, this is my swan song. I'm saying goodbye to all of your fans and my one fan.
To the podcasters that are listening right now, I'm holding a boombox over my head. I'm about to hit play with Peter Gabriel's "Your Eyes" pointing at the screen to Jack.
Well,
what were you saying about last week?
Going back to last week, and I swear to God that this is true. But last week you told the story of us seeing U2 with the Worcester Centrum, the first time that they ever headlined an arena show, at least in the United States, and they actually received their first gold albums for the War record or whatever it was, and you managed to get yourself up on stage and have Bono on your shoulders. And I kid you not, when I saw that happen, I was elated for you, and at the same time, holy fucking shit. Anybody but him. I'm going to hear about this story. I'm going to hear about this story for the next 40 fucking years. And here we are. What has it been? It's been 38 years. We're right on track.
38 years. Yeah.
We're right on track. Now, admittedly, part of my I don't know, not hesitancy, but me being bummed out, not that I'm bummed out that you told the story again, is that there's no question about it that I was envious that night. I don't know why I wasn't up there with you guys, but I wasn't.
JC, the last one I remember hanging with Jay, and he bailed like he could have been right next to me. And I think at one point he said, "I'm going back to the seats." It was because I was alone eventually.
It was a great moment. It was great to see one of us up there, but I was like, "Fuck, does it have to be him?"
And the thing of
he's already trying to figure out how to put it on his tombstone.
I will. The funny thing about that story is the little
Scott
nuances
McLean.
in it.
Scott McLean, 1952 to
50.
2000.
Are you fucking?
Whatever.
fuck is
Once
that?
had Bono on his shoulders.
How old do you think I am? Jesus.
52, right?
Get out of here. Yeah, 1952. See, the funny thing about that story is the little nuances. The dude that was next to me, and we're right at the stage, and the stage is probably about up to my neck, right? It wasn't like really high up back then. And, dude's all jacked up and, all right, and we're having a, like, yeah. And when I said to him, hey, next song, help me get up on stage, he looked at me like literally the proverbial I had three heads. Like what I said, dude, when I say now, just boost me up there. So he interlocked his fingers. And I said, now. During I Will Follow. And he just shot me up on stage. And that's
So
how
he
I actually got
he
up
actually
there.
gave you a boost?
Yeah. He interlocked his fingers. I stepped on it, and he shot me up onto the stage because we were close, and it was hard to kind of just pull yourself up because everybody was kind of crowding around in there. And, that's how I got up on that thing. And then I jumped back down next to him, and it was like he did it. Like he was like, we did it.
Oh, yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I guarantee you that he's telling the same story, 37 years old.
So a week later, I was working.
Dude, I saw you two back in the old days, and I gave a boost to this pudgy bald guy who jumped up on stage.
Whoa. Easy with the pudgy. I wasn't, and I'm not. I'm bald.
I couldn't believe it. I actually lifted Danny DeVito up, who got Bono on his shoulders.
You are just fucking, you're making up for it, aren't you? You're making up for it. All right.
You know what? The thing that I can't believe. So you had him on your shoulders.
Yeah.
You put him down. Did you shake his hand?
He helped me up. Yeah. Like he took because I kneeled back down. He got off. Then he kind of helped me up. Right. Yeah. And he kind of put his arm around me for a second and kind of took like 3 steps with me toward the front of the stage. Then he bailed. Like he walked away. And the Edge gave me a little thumbs up when I walked by him. Because I had walked about 15 feet back onto the stage from the front of the stage. So then that's at the point where I just stood there and what do I do? Like they let me stay here. And they put the spotlight on me. And I was like, Rocky. Fucking Rocky. That's what better thing can you do than the Rocky jump right there?
You should have went into the Irish jig.
Yeah,
little river dance.
Killing a moment.
A little river dance action. That would have been awesome. Yeah, so you walked off. You walked off the side of the stage?
No, I jumped back into the crowd.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's why the dude I jumped down next to the dude that boosted me up. And he was like, we did it. So a week later, I was working. Was it WCOZ? What channel was it that used to do on Friday afternoons? Every afternoon would be light the smoking. The smoking lamp is lit, and they would take a request.
That's probably COZ. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was COZ. I think it was. So I had called, and I was at work. Anyway, and I called, and I requested a U2 song, and the girl from the station, and the girl that answered said, "Oh, did you see them last week?" I said, "Yeah, I was up on stage with her." That was you. Like, okay, she was there too.
All of us music fans were there.
Yeah, it was quite but it's not Prince getting on stage dancing with James Brown. I don't know. That's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable that Prince got up when he was a little Chuck and started and security came and got little Prince off the stage because evidently he wouldn't leave.
Too funny.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
a great moment. I can't remember if it was I think it was a bootleg that I looked at from that show. and it actually says, like the encore. I think it was I Will Follow, wasn't it?
I Will Follow, yeah, when he does the whole Your Eyes Make a Circle, the kind of break there.
Yeah, but on the back of the CD, I think it actually says, I will follow with Bono on Fan's shoulder.
It says it in the set list too. That
Yeah.
website,
Yeah,
set list.
setlist.com.
You actually showed me that too. You actually
I
said,
did.
check this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Great moment in time. Great moment in time. So speaking of time, let's go back in time.
The time.
Let's go back in time to 1931 when RCA Victor launched the first commercially available vinyl long-playing record. 31. Yeah. Marketed as a program transcription disc.
So this was back the old kind of, not glass, but the very fragile 78s.
Yeah, they were what were they? I forget the material that was used.
It wasn't wax.
No.
It's like fucking asphalt.
Yeah, I have some of those, and they are fragile. If you drop them on the ground, they'll shatter like a plate.
Oh yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was the beginning of technology when it comes to music.
It's funny with those old 78s. They're everywhere. If you ever go to flea markets and yard sales and antique shops and whatnot, and there are definitely people out there that think that they're worth a fortune, and they're really not. There are some that are worth pretty decent money, like the really old blues. So like the Mississippi John Hurt and the Muddy Waters and what like I've looked on eBay, and some of the old Mississippi John Hurt 78s, they go for like $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a piece, but they're almost impossible to find. Which is
because
why
so many of them got thrown
money.
away. Yeah, a lot of them got thrown away, got broken.
But everybody that has 78s, they have, Tommy Dorsey and Spike.
I have a
Jones.
Spike Jones. I have some of his stuff.
Yeah, even some of the Sinatra, Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. They're not worth anything.
Nothing worth anything. No,
Nope.
They're cool to look at. Some of the covers, like I kept the Spike Jones because it's got a cool cover. But then in the 40s, that's when they came into polyvinyl chloride. That's where the term vinyl record came from. Because they were more flexible and they could actually fit more onto it too. Because those other ones were like 10-minute plays. Like what we used to have the 12-inch, I think my favorite album, just one song was what's the name of the group? Real Life, Send Me an Angel. Send me an angel. Send me an angel right
Keep
now.
Keep
Right
going.
now. If you believe in heaven above, if you believe in love. See, I love that song. I don't care. You know why?
Of course, it's got a lot of synthesizers.
Yeah.
I think we just lost our one sponsor.
Send me an
Send me
angel.
hot sauce.
So, vinyl is vinyl. I always say, no one's getting rich off the vinyl collection. People save it now because it's the chic thing to do, but it's still sitting there. It's still fucking sitting there. Like,
Well,
it sat there for 40 years and they didn't give a shit about it. Then all of a sudden they see, hey, there's a little resurgence in vinyl records, and they're like, I have a collection and I'm keeping it. Like, you fucking weren't doing anything with it anyways, But they still don't own a turntable. That's the funny thing.
I'll tell you the thing that kills me is that because it's the hip thing in the Gen Zers and the millennials are big time into vinyl right now, that all of the things that should be $3 are now $28 because there's such demand for it.
Well,
and hey, whatever. I mean, I'm not in the market for a lot of that old classic vinyl because I have most of it. But it's disturbing to me that the Police Outlandish D'Amour is going for $38.
Yeah, but you could buy it for cheaper off Discogs. It's a great app, Discogs. You can catalog. Yeah. So I want to just stop the show for a second, if I could. We have the return of Scott, the IT guy. He just commented in, I had to leave the show because I never got sent the hot sauce. Hashtag strike. Or # strike. That's where he's been. Huh? Okay.
Scott,
you can't hold me hostage.
I got news for you. If you're waiting for your hot sauce, just give it up. I've been podcast for 6-8 years now, and I haven't gotten a drop. Not a drop. Not a habanero. Not a Scotch bonnet.
It's
not even a couple of drops of Tabasco.
It's a handmade small batch hot sauce. It's very
how small batch is it? I mean, is it just enough that they can only give it to you?
It's very limited edition, evidently.
Apparently so.
Very limited edition. So let's move on to welcome back, Scott. I missed you.
Hey, before you leave, vinyl. Are you done with vinyl yet?
No, we're not. No, we can keep talking.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I will interject.
No. I was.
I'll wait over here.
Just talk.
I was just going to make mention of all the different formats. Like, look, we've been in the, not in the forefront, but we've been right in the mix of a lot of technological change in terms of listening to music, right? So, going from radio to 8-track to vinyl to cassette to MP3 to CD and beyond. Do you have a favorite format?
Well, I'm partial to vinyl, of course, because it's more sentimental. But I would say I love MP3. It's just easier to manage. You can use it in your car. You can use it at the gym. You can use it. Hey, do you have your phone with you?
I do.
All right. Do you have playlists on your phone?
I do. Sure.
Do you have a workout playlist?
I do.
Read it to me. And do not. This is the honest system.
No, I'll read it to you.
Now, what is it on? Is it on Amazon, Spotify, Pandora?
It's on Spotify.
You're a Spotify guy. Okay.
Yeah. All right. You ready? How far do you want me to go? Because there's a lot on here.
Give me just read off the first 15.
Okay. Enter Sandman, Metallica live in Mexico City. Creeping Death live in Mexico City. Keep the Faith by Bon Jovi. Where the Streets Have No Name, U2. Whole Lot of Rosie live in 1991. AC/DC. Thunderstruck, AC/DC. Run to You, Bryan Adams live. She's the One live at the Hammersmith Odeon. Bruce Springsteen. Just Can't Stop Me, the Jay Giles Band. Hard Driving Man, Looking for Love, Jay Giles Band. Pound Cake, Run Around, One Way to Rock, Van Halen live. Human by The Killers. Bright Lights by Matchbox 20, your favorite. American Slang and Stay Lucky by the Gaslight Anthem. American Idiot, Jesus' Suburban Holiday by Green Day. LaGrange live from ZZ Top. What else is on here? Fall to Pieces, the Velvet Revolver. Plush, Stone Temple Pilots. The Pretender, the Foo Fighters. These Days, the Foo Fighters. You Somebody, Kings of Leon. New Sensation by NXS. Eat the Rich, live version by Aerosmith. Monkey on My Back, Aerosmith. Back in the Saddle, Aerosmith. Hey Jealousy, the Gin Blossoms. Is that enough?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Sellout by Real Big Fish. There's a bunch of stuff.
You like live music, huh?
I listen to
a lot of live songs on there.
A lot of live songs. I love live music.
Interesting dichotomy of music between you and me, as far as this goes.
All right, go ahead. Give me your top 15.
Yeah. Beehive by Mark Langan Band. I Heard You Got To by St. John. I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, Prince. Don't Leave Me This Way, the Communards. I love the Communards. Funky Child, the Lords of the Underground. Molly, 16 Candles, Sponge. Subterranean Feelings, Jude Schumer. Dress by PJ Harvey. Elevate My Mind, Stereo MCs. All the Way Up, Fat Joe. Don't Run Wild, the Del Fuegos. Happy, Pharrell Williams. Night in My Veins, Pretenders, my favorite Pretender song. The Formula by the DOC. Good Thing, Fine Young Cannibals. Roadrunner, The Modern Lovers. It's No Good, Depeche Mode. Hell and Back by Bakar. Hollywood's Bleeding, Post Malone. Good Fortune, PJ Harvey. Let's see. Take a Picture, Filter. Happy Hour by Weezer. Suicide Blonde, INXS. Adam's Apple, Aerosmith. Let's see. Suspicious Minds, Fine Young Cannibals. Mr. Brightside, The Killers. When Things Go Wrong, Robin Lane and the Chartbusters. Love in a Trash Can, The Ravenettes. Never Say Goodbye, The Communards. Tattooed Love Boys. The Pretenders. That's When I Reach for My Revolver, Mission of Burma. And Supersonic by Oasis. What do you notice about my playlist?
What I notice is a bunch of horse shit. You knew you were going to answer this, so you compiled a bunch of cool songs. I know you listen. You don't listen to any of that when you work out.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do. Why would I lie?
Because you're you. You're a giant douchebag.
In my playlist, I have one song from the 70s. That's it. Aerosmith, Adam's Apple. All the rest of them are 80s, 90s, and today.
You know what I notice on mine? So on my playlist, the beginning, like on the page for the playlist, it actually gives you the duration of your playlist. Mine is 16 hours and 48 minutes.
I have playlists that are like that. This one is 2 hours and 42 minutes. I have playlists like that for when I'm in the pool or I'm having a cookout that just continue, and it is an absolute cornucopia of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I'd find the Lords of the Underground or the DOC in your playlist.
What is that supposed to mean? Like you're cooler than I am? Something?
No, you're just not a rap guy. You're not a hip hop guy.
That's not true.
It is true.
That's not true at all.
It's true.
That is dirty.
You might like it, but you're not a hip hop guy. You're a jazz guy.
True. No, I do like jazz.
So, moving on to the 8-track. You know who designed the 8-track?
I do not.
William Powell Lear, the man behind the Learjet, designed the 8-track. He took the 4-track, and what he did was the pinch mechanism that was in a 4-track player, he put it into an 8-track box, because it's a casing, actually. He put the pin, and so he added more tracks in there. So, yeah.
What was the thing that frustrated you most about the 8-track? Was it the fact that it wasn't really that portable? I mean, yeah, you could put it in your car, and I actually had a portable 8-track player, but not the easiest thing to carry around.
Well, they did come out with the Dynamite 8. Dynamite! Jimmy J.J. Walker was, you'd pound the top and it would change the channel.
That's great.
It was a small portable 8-track player, and it looked like one of those, those things you press down to blow up the dynamite that you see in the Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the player per se. I'm talking about the actual 8-track.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. They weren't that
cassettes. Yeah. I guess. So you know what I mean. For me, I actually thought that the sound quality, and I don't know if this is true technologically speaking, if the sound quality is technically better. But it seemed to be better than cassettes.
It was deeper.
Yeah, but they were cumbersome, and I think the biggest thing that may be a surprise to some of our newer listeners is that for a lot of at least the early 8-track players, they did not have a fast forward or rewind capability.
Yeah,
you could bounce between 4 different channels or 4 different tracks. The other thing that was frustrating is. Do you remember ever listening? Like I remember Van Halen 1 if I remember correctly, that on the first track, I think it might have been like in the middle of Eruption. Like, Eruption is kind of broken up into two pieces. It actually changes from track 1 to track 2.
Happens.
So you got that weird click.
Well, what they did was they would actually put that on the track listing on the back, like Strawberry Fields on Magical Mystery Tour was like part 1 and part 2 because that's where it got clipped. So
yeah, and then the other thing about A-Track. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing about 8-tracks is, at least for me, not until later, you couldn't record on them. So like one of the great things. I'm going to touch on that. That's an interesting point. Yeah,
the thing that Lear did, though, other than improve over the 4-track, was his marketing was fucking brilliant. All 1966 Ford cars offered a factory-installed in-dash 8-track player. In 67, Chrysler and GM offered the same. And in the late 60s, several other companies were making players for the other tape loop systems, including a 4-track, and putting them in cars. That's where the 8-track took off. Because now you could play them in your car, and you didn't have to buy a cumbersome type of system. Because, there was cars, and I know you know this, that had fucking turntables in them. Like they tried everything to put in cars, but 8-tracks at the time was the shit then, right? So,
well, I mean, if you think about it, putting a turntable in a car, that's a dumb fucking idea.
Unless you're parked, you're definitely not doing it when you're driving, So then the 8-tracks, they were with us for a long time. The preeminent 70s format, right? Then there was Columbia House. Columbia House, how the fuck did they stay in business? 13 8-tracks for a penny. And you always ordered them if you were moving or, you thought, oh, it's only a penny. And then you start getting those bills for the monthly albums that they're sending you that are overpriced,
How many times did you do Columbia House?
I think me and my brother
do
did
it more than once?
I did it once. Yeah. So then, Columbia House offered 8-track tapes well into the 80s. They were still doing it. Columbia House. Madonna's early albums were an 8-track. Michael Jackson's Thriller was offered as a club membership 8-track. Yeah, right? I guess there's some articles out there that say that there's still a place down south that's making 8-tracks, but oddly enough, it's for predominantly for truckers, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. So what do we got? Mark Smith just commented from YouTube. He said, I used to work at a cassette company owned by a man who worked for Bill Lear. Wow. And he said the original 8-track was designed by Lear, was as good as a quarter master tape. Yeah, so the sound was better, as you said. I always thought it was deeper. It had a deeper sound to it.
Yeah, the sound was pretty good on 8-tracks.
Yeah.
I still remember there's a couple of 8-tracks that stand out just because of where I was in my life and the music that I got turned on to at that time. But I remember I had Van Halen's first album on 8-track. I had Hot Rocks, the Rolling Stones on 8-track. I had The Kids Are All Right by The Who on 8-track, and I had the Best of the Band on 8-track, and Some Girls. I mean, they just took up so much room, or so it seemed.
So you touched on the 8-track recorder. My father always happened to show up at our house with some really good stuff that it fell off the back of a truck, right? And he gave us an 8-track recorder. And you could record off the radio. You could record off an album. But if you were trying to record like songs and you wanted to beat the click onto the next channel, you had to get the time for all the songs, right? And put them together so they fit in each spot. So when the click happened, a new song would come along. Very tedious process. Very tedious process. Counting the time, I don't even remember. I think if you're doing a mixtape on it, imagine that, a mixed 8-track. Mixed 8-track.
My dad actually, after a little while, he used to make me mixtapes with 8-tracks. I remember that they were Radio Shack blanks.
Yeah. We had a microphone, and we could plug it in and record our voices onto the 8-track. Cool. Yeah.
Do you still have any of them?
God rest his soul, used to have a lot of fun with that. What's that? Any
chance that any of those are still floating around?
No. Just like my old album collection. When I went to the military, that was that's a long story. That's a long story.
That's a damn shame. But I mean, even cassettes. Do you remember, like, before you had a real cassette player that you used to have to try to time things on the radio?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I keep jumping ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just excited.
That's all right.
I'm excited to be back on the show. I'm trying to earn my keep after last week's Dynamo.
Well,
I know. I'm on probation now.
Well, Todd Sockman, fan of the show, friend of the show, is the one that came up with the "Did you know Jack missed 4 shows in the last 5 months?"
Well, yeah. Jack has a job. Jack's not retired. Sometimes these things happen. As a matter of fact, I mean, I'm heartbroken about something, and I know this is somewhat off topic, but I realized tonight that I actually have Nick Cave tickets and I can't go because I have to be away on business. Sometimes it happens, and sometimes it happens the other way. I've actually had the opportunity to see some bands that I never would have been able to see, and I just happened to see them while I was actually traveling on business.
Yeah. That's always cool. That's an unexpected bonus.
Yeah.
Did you know the first 8-track player, the first karaoke machine was an 8-track player?
That doesn't surprise me.
Daisuke Inoue created it in 1971. He called it the 8-Juke. Right? It was a wooden box that combined a microphone, amplifier, coin box, and an 8-track tape player. Inoue claims to have sold 25,000 of them, right? Of the Juke 8s. But sadly, Inoue, the son of a pancake maker, did not patent the device. And today, karaoke is a household word. Listen, there's a picture of the guy. He's an old guy, gray hair, and he's got one of his original boxes, and he's got a fucking smile from ear to ear. I think this guy was just a pretty humble dude, Japanese guy, probably realizes, hey, but imagine having one of those. Only 25,000 of them they were made back in 71. How many of those you think are left?
Probably not many, and probably worth a pretty penny for the audio files that are out there.
Yeah, the technology this guy put into a wooden box, and it was like a long. I actually have a portable 8-track player where the speakers come out of the sides. It's got a radio, and it's pretty cool. It's like kind of that space technology that we went through in the 70s. But
how do you think his wife reacted to him not having it patented? You think she reminded him of that a couple of times?
Yeah.
You idiot!
Let's see. All right. I'll say in the 80s, I have this. Did you know? Many popular titles were available on 8-track through record clubs. Now, this is when they started transitioning over to cassettes, right? So as the popularity of the format took a nosedive in the 80s, the 8-track tape was largely relegated to such mail-order record clubs. If you were an 8-track, if you were an 8-track collector and wanted hit albums like John Cougar's American Fool or the Beastie Boys' License to Ill, you had to go through a record club to get the 8-tracks. Now I'm going to throw
worth money.
I don't know. Now this one, I'm going to throw this at you. And okay, I already made a bet with you, and I don't even know what the bet was. Do you remember the Oasis? Oh, if Oasis gets back together, I'll buy the tickets, and we'll negotiate the airfare. But
it's going to cost you a fortune. I want to sit right up front, VIP seats. I'm going to have one of those fake little laminated backstage passes in my little gift bag.
So, in 1988, I'm not going to say the name of it, this particular album in 8-track form is widely considered the last album commercially released on 8-track. While it's not certainly most collectors claim that blank, it's a compilation, it's a greatest hits, and it came out in 1988, was the final commercially released 8-track. Now after that, like Reader's Digest did some they throw in some collections of songs, but this particular came out in 1988. It was a band that apexed in the 70s, around the mid 70s. They went through a bunch of incarnations to get to where they were.
I have a guess. I don't know if it's right.
Throw it at me.
The Eagles.
No.
Fleetwood Mac.
Guess. Yes. Fleetwood Mac's greatest hits. See, you lost the bet, but you got it on the second answer.
They were right there too. I should have went with my gut.
I was trying to give you all the hints that we argued about.
I should have jumped on. But that's another one last week that you were railing on. Fleetwood Mac, they sucked until
before their greatest hits album is basically most of the hits from Fleetwood Mac and then Rumors. Like that's their greatest hits.
There's no question about it that Fleetwood Mac was a very, very different band. Yeah. Once Lindsey
Buckingham.
And
we're all better for it.
No question about it. They would, if Fleetwood Mac actually stayed with their original lineup, nobody would know who they are. They would be this obscure kind of blues, band that had some notoriety in the late 60s that, really hasn't done much.
Yeah. Let's move on to the cassette. The cassette was around while the 8-track was around. Uh-oh. Listen, Jack just yawned.
I did yawn.
It's 8 o'clock and Jack's yawning. Are you going to fall asleep on your guitar, Jackie? Do you have your sleepy tea tonight? You have your sleepy tea? Where's your sleepy tea? Show me your sleepy tea. There it is. My nappy tea. I got my nappy tea tonight. Yeah.
It's not the tea. The show is fucking boring, man.
Perry Dieterich said, due to the programming, there will be 1 minute of silence before track 4 and 3. No doubt. That's a good way to segue out of 8 tracks.
Oh man. No, you're right. You caught me on in this show. It's just boring, and then the host just ponderously boring.
Anyways,
this.
Hey, you know what, people? I'm going to tell you right now.
By the way, there's no
last week. No. You're not talking to no whoas right now.
There's no
last
S
week,
on
Jack
the end of
messaged
anyways.
me. Nope, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to get my point across. Last week, Jack said, "What do we want to talk?" He always hits me up like immediately. That's fine. And I said, I rattled off a bunch of stuff, and he's like, "How about technology and music?" And I said, "Okay," because I'm always open to suggestions. And here we are doing technology and music, and this motherfucker's yawning. He's yawning. Now, I could have told him a week ago, it's not an exciting fucking show. But no. No. Jack has to get his way. I give Jack his way.
Hey, how many suggestions? I gave you a list.
You said technology. I gave you a list.
I gave you a list. No, I gave you a list.
No, I gave you a list.
It's not cool to lie to our listener.
Yeah, I know it isn't, Jack, is it? It isn't, is it?
Fabricating.
So, the cassette. Well, it was invented in Berlin.
Oh, here you go. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Friday, February 25th at 8:01
What month
a.m.
was it? What month was it?
Friday, February 25th.
Yeah.
I said, what do you want back? The grunge years, when rockers go country, new bands to watch out for, rock's greatest drummers, how technology is changing music, MTV's greatest moments, great rock books, who's the greatest American rock band in history, the origins of hip hop, bands people love to hate. Is that not a list?
I don't recall that.
By the way, I don't see any list before or after that coming from you, dipshit.
I don't.
You're
how
turning
can
this
these
whole
people
show
believe
into a
you? How
farce.
can they believe you when they're listening, and you're just saying that you're reading off a text message? Remember, this is an audio show.
No, for the people that look, there it is.
No one can read that.
Why would I do that? Why would I lie about something as stupid as that?
Oh, wait a minute. Ricky Graham, one of the guy that got me my career in customs, says you can always have Jack play a song for us, liven things up. You know what, Ricky? I never said this before. You're a great guy. You are. You're the man. But fuck you. Jack doesn't get that. No. Stop. Don't encourage him. Turn that fucking thing around.
Ooh.
Yeah, see, you play around, you kick, you knock your microphone over.
Mom always said, "Don't play ball in the house."
Yeah. So,
getting back to records, I'm curious about this, because even though you talked about vinyl, you kind of skipped over something. I mean, if you think about like our evolution in terms of like listening to, to music and whatnot, we didn't just listen to vinyl, right? Like originally, did you actually have full-length albums, or did you start the way that I started with 45s?
I had full-length albums. My father dropped off 5 milk crates of albums at our house one day. Literally 5. When milk crates, they stopped making milk crates that dimension, the dimension of an album cover, because of that, because the milk industry was losing millions of dollars a year from people just stealing milk crates. So they shortened them. So if you go today to try to put an album in a milk crate, it's not going to fit. Just that little distance made the difference. But, dude, my father dropped off, and it always said, I never understood that how it said, property of Jim Smith on every album. I asked my father who Jim Smith was. He said, it's a friend of mine.
Yeah,
it's a friend of mine.
He wanted you to have these.
Dude, he gave, in that collection was the New York Dolls, Rick Wakeman, Edgar Winter Group. Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
No, dude, this was...
But wait a minute. The New York Dolls and Rick Wakeman, those are like polar opposites.
Well, the dude like me and like you had an eclectic taste in music. Leave him
That's
alone.
way eclectic.
Leave Jim Smith alone.
I can't believe that anybody would go out of their way to buy a Rick Wakeman album. By the way, for those people that don't know, he was the keyboard player for Yes.
You know what? See, you are such a fucking hypocrite.
How would you call
I rail against a band. I rail against a band, and then you're like, you should give them respect. You should honor them. They're bands. Just because you don't like them doesn't mean that you can make fun of them and hate them. Oh, yeah? What did you just do to Rick Wakeman, tough guy? Huh? What'd you do to Rick Wakeman?
You know what? Look.
You dogged him.
Hold on.
You're a hypocrite.
Rick Wakeman is an incredibly, incredibly talented
here we go.
player.
Backtracking Jack.
Incredibly.
Jack.
But, I mean, what I was saying is that the New York Dolls is not a prog band. You know, they were borderline, you know, punk. And Rick Wakeman is so polar opposite of that. It just confuses me a little bit.
Pull an album. Pull a fucking album out from behind you. Pull an album out. Any album. Hurry up. What is it?
Martha Hoople's greatest hits.
All right, now go down the fucking other end of your collection. Pull an album out.
Is this far enough?
Yeah, sure.
The Motels.
So Martha Hoople and the Motels. I mean, what are you talking about? They are so polar opposite. I mean,
by the way, hey, how come every time you do my voice, you know, I'm a guy from like Provincetown.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but that's not how I sound.
That's how you talk. you don't know because you don't listen to the shows. You don't listen to so you don't know how you sound.
I only listen when it's just you because that's when the show is just
perfect. Hey, I did 87 minutes. Right, on my own.
Longer, look, trust me, and this is something that I've known my whole life. Longer is not better.
Well, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that. Hey, did you like my story of me, Jim Hurley, and Phil Kelly in Providence, Rhode Island?
Yeah, there was.
Did you get that far into it?
There was a good 45-minute tale of hitchhiking and TV repairman guy.
Yeah, and what crazy experiences have you had, Jack? What did you ever try to steal a car, Jack? No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. No. I didn't try to steal a car.
No,
but I will tell you that when I was living on the Cape, I was throwing a massive party and somebody ordered a bunch of pizzas, and the guy came. They had like a pickup truck with like this insulated, back, So it was like a pickup truck. And when the kid came in, somebody ran out my back door, jumped in his car, and drove the truck into the lake down the street.
That's so crazy. That's a crazy story, Jack.
By the way,
God, you're so crazy.
I have to tell you, that voice is not cool, man.
Pizza.
It's not right.
The pizza man's truck. Oh.
I don't know if I can continue to be on this show.
So what? I'm being diverse.
I don't know if I can. Yeah,
I'm being diverse.
You're being an asshole. That's what you're being. That's not right, man.
You know what? I gotta give you a heads up. My brother says to me today, "What's the show?" My brother, Colin McLean. He's a co-producer, but Jack says he's the, what do you call him? He's the creative consultant.
Yeah.
He says, "Are you gonna give little Jack a hard time tonight? Are you gonna give Jackie a hard time tonight?"
Runs in the fucking family.
I'm taking orders from my big brother.
Oh, it's not right, man. Nope.
He sicked me on you. It's his fault. But the funny thing is, it took you 58 minutes.
Could be my swan song. This is it, man.
It took you 58 minutes to realize it.
I hope you're happy.
if you people could see his face, he's not too happy.
It's not cool. Not cool.
Okay. Oh shit! You know what, Jack? I'm gonna, just for that, play a song. Play a song, buddy. Give us a song.
No.
On cue. Give me a song.
Nope. You get no song.
I'm taking my guitar and going home. Oh, Jesus. All right, let's finish the story. So what happened with the pizza guy? What did he just stop partying with you guys?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but I do recall the lawyer calling me a couple of days later.
Well, that's a lot of pizzas. Oh, Jesus. I don't even know where to go from here. All right, let's see. I gave my love a cherry. What, Carla? Someone just commented in.
She's making a guitar joke. Animal House.
Oh, okay. Do you know that song, Jack?
I don't think so.
Although
you know who does a great, you know who does a great version of that song is Sam Cooke.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I thought Otis Day did a really good version of it too.
The great late murdered Sam Cooke.
Yeah. So let's I mean, we're only into cassettes. We still got CDs.
Hey, but you know what? Hey, when you going back to the the vinyl, when you used to get vinyl when you were a kid, did you have any type of ritual? Did you save the cellophane on the outside? Did you?
I tried.
Store them. Did you store them a different way? Did you do, for whatever reason, every time I bought a new record, I would always smell it?
No, I don't think I had anything. I tried to keep the cellophane on it, but if it was a gatefold, you can't. No, I was always did the dive for the inserts. If it was seeing if there was any inserts. Because back then you didn't know. Like there was no publicity unless you read like Teen Magazine or something says catch the insert of the Pretenders album, which I have the Pretenders album, a Japanese import, and it has some pretty cool fucking inserts in it. The Pretenders first album. Yeah. I got that in the Philippines.
I think that's one of the things of all the different formats that music came out on. The long playing album, vinyl was where I certainly learned most about music. Like a lot of people ask you and I, like, how do you guys know so much shit? And a lot of it, at least I know for me was, I used to go into Boston and I used to go to record stores and I used to flip through.
You worked at one, yeah.
Yeah, I used to flip through the stacks and I would read, the backs and, the records, and you learned who, the personnel was in the band, who played bass and who played drums and who produced and who wrote.
Yeah.
And, which one were covers and which, which
that's
bands
how I
won.
know that. That's how I know, like, Joan Armatrading's album, Me, Myself, and I. Fucking Thomas Dolby was the keyboard player on that album.
Yeah.
How would I know that other than I studied it? And the thing that you and I had, and there are people that have this, and it's for different, like, some do it for movies, TV shows. I have a pretty good way of doing it. But for some fucking strange reason, we retain that information. Like you just retain it because we love the music so much that when you learn something about it, at least that's how I was. When I learned something about it, it was like an epiphany, like, wow. And that just kind of stuck. I retained all this fucking music information. And, we always used to joke about it. Like I said, got a fucking a head full of music info that served me no good. Why couldn't
Scott,
I retain
when you controlled the album cover, you control information. I remember the first time I saw Joe Cocker's with a little help from my friends and just being blown away by looking at the back cover and seeing that Steve Winwood was on there. Jimmy Page played on that record.
Yeah.
Like, holy God.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page did something outside of Led Zeppelin. It was just, how does that happen?
I get, what? Somebody brought this up again the other day, and I watched it, and I saw this a long time ago. I forget the name of the movie. But it's a British movie, and it was a 60s movie, and this guy walks into a club, and everybody's just standing there like zombies staring at the stage, and the Yardbirds are doing Train Kept A-Rollin'. Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, right? Who was the lead singer?
Keith Ralph.
Yeah. And, and we grew up listening to the Aerosmith version, right? And it's the same beat except different lyrics. Like Train Kept A-Rollin', I guess you can mix and match lyrics at certain points in that song. And Jeff Beck starts having problems with his amp, and he starts banging it with his guitar. and it keeps going, and he keeps banging it, till eventually he takes his guitar, and now the crowd, like this dude's in the crowd now. I don't, this is like, you pick this up at the beginning of the music video, but it was from a movie. And Jeff Beck ends up smashing his guitar and throws the arm into the audience, and everybody starts fighting for it. And this guy ends up with it, and people are chasing him. Like they chase him out of the club, down this fucking long hallway, out into the street. And he finally makes it out, and he's got this guitar neck in his hand, and he's out on the street, and it looks like, 42nd Street would in the 70s. It's probably London, downtown London. And he looks at the guitar neck and fucking throws it on the ground and walks away. Like, what were you fighting for, dude? And then some dude walks by, looks at it, and just keeps walking. Like, and I know there was something in there, like that the director is like, imagine if you knew what that was, right? But
yeah.
The thing was to see that was just funny watching that, how they played back then. And Jimmy Page was young, Jeff Beck was young, it's pretty interesting clip.
Well, yeah, you know what's funny, and look, I'm not patting myself on the shoulder, but I mean, you asked me who the lead singer of the Yardbirds was, and without hesitation, I said Keith Ralph. And that's from, flipping through the stacks at, Strawberries records and tapes.
Yeah.
The poor bastard. Do you know how Keith Ralph died?
No.
He was playing an ungrounded electric guitar, and he electrocuted himself.
Yeah, that's right. I knew it was something weird like that. Yeah. Let's see. Mark Smith comments in from YouTube. Love the pictures on Deep Purple's Machine Head. You can see how they recorded it. You were instantly transported to the recording of it. An MP3 would never give you that. Exactly. Carla Grillo, she comments in, I gave a guy I dated my compilation albums, mostly from K-Tel. Remember those? Wish I kept those. God. I have
K-Tel,
a bunch of those.
K-Tel,
they are good albums.
The K-Tel, the rock album, there was one that had Robin Trower and Eddie Money, 2 Tickets to Paradise. That was the first place I ever heard that song.
You know the story behind 2 Tickets to Paradise?
I think you've told it on this show once before.
Well, Eddie Money, he didn't have any money. He was young, and he wrote the song, and it wasn't actually...
you did tell the story before.
Yeah, and the 2 Tickets to Paradise was just for him and his wife to take a bus out to like Pennsylvania. But to them, it was 2 Tickets to Paradise. They were getting out of New York type thing. That's just the quick version of it, but it's pretty interesting. I mean, we could actually do a show on like the story behind certain songs.
You think there's the possibility that we might actually stay on track and talk about the stories, or you're gonna,
you
make fun of me and I derail it. How
Only
dare
if
you?
my brother puts me on you will I do that. Well, Colin McLean makes the call. I follow.
Some things never change. Back in the day, I said if you got in a fight with one of the McLeans, you had to fight them all, and it's still happening today.
It's still happening today. That's right. That's right.
Goddamn bullies.
You derailed the show when you yawned and said, "Oh my God, this is so interesting." So that absolutely set this show into a whole other direction.
I was just trying to project because you caught me yawning. That's all. I worked my butt off today, and I get tired, and sometimes you're a little long-winded. I'm sorry.
I'm long-winded. I'm me. I'm not even
wait a minute. You're not long-winded. How long did your show go last week?
Well, when you're doing a solo show and the people like the extended show, then you stretch it out. A professional knows how to do that, Jack.
Yeah, high water mark. Last week's show just skyrocketed our numbers.
Well, it was one of the most downloaded shows in the 1 week time frame.
There you go. That's it. You know what? People love that today. A whole hour and 20 minutes of I hate Jethro Tull. I don't like Santana. I hate Matchbox 20.
See, I give informative. I do informative shows. I do interesting shows. I do interesting shows.
It's all over.
I do the shows people want. And
this
you know
is
what?
It. I'm all done. This is my last show.
I said, did you have to be
free at last? Free at last.
All you Jack fans, too bad. You don't like to leave.
I'm sure that
Team
one guy
Jack.
left.
Team Jack. Yeah. So.
Oh my God, we're well over an hour already.
Yeah, I know. That's all right. The listeners seem to like this the slightly extended version, and I really like
No.
it.
A listener. One of your buddies said they like the long show.
There's a bunch of them. They like the long shows.
Now you hijacked my entire night.
Yep, I did. So you know what we're gonna do then, Jack? You know what we're gonna do?
Oh no! Is there gonna be a part 2 of technology and music?
No. I'm gonna save all that little good stuff for when I have to do another show alone.
Yeah,
okay?
well, it's coming soon, brother.
It's coming soon.
It's coming soon.
So, hey, Jack, you know what time it is?
Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know?
No. On this day.
On this day in 1957, Elvis Presley got on stage and put his left shoe on his right foot and his right foot in the left shoe and went out and played, and he didn't even notice.
There was an Elvis one, but I left it out just for you. On this day in 1958, Big Records released Our Song by a teenage duo from Queens, New York, Tom and Jerry.
Simon and Garfunkel.
The duo will become famous in the 60s under the real names Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. Now, oddly enough, on this day in 1964, Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel record The Sounds of Silence as an acoustic duo. It wasn't until record company producers added electric guitar, bass, and drums without the knowledge of those two, of Simon and Garfunkel, that the song would become a hit in the late 1965. So imagine recording something going, that was great. Then you come back and it's totally different. On this day in 2022, on this day in 1977, at 7 a.m. in the morning, on a trestle table set up outside Buckingham Palace, London, the Sex Pistols signed to A&M Records. The real signing had taken place the day before. An after party was held at the offices of A&M Records following the signing, where the group set out about wreaking unforeseen havoc on the posh building, with Sid Vicious smashing a toilet bowl and cutting his foot, trailing blood everywhere he went, while Johnny Rotten cursed and threatened every upscale executive in sight, and guitarist Steve Jones was getting it on with an unnamed fan in the bathroom. The contract lasted 6 days.
Were you a fan of that album?
I at the time, yes, but not a huge fan.
Oh, I love that record.
I grew to appreciate it more as
I
love
that record. And I actually got to see them. Remember, they got together in '96 and did a tour. And, people were like, come on, it's a sellout. And I was like, you know what? I don't care. Yeah. I just want to hear those songs live.
Ever feel like you've been cheated?
Have it? Yeah.
Right?
That's it. I mean,
walks off the stage.
The song Bodies. Oh.
Yeah.
Or EMI, or Holidays in the Sun. I mean, that record is fucking fantastic.
It stands the test of time. On this day in 1979, Gloria Gaynor started a 3-week run at #1 on the U.S. singles charts with My Song, after Jack leaves, I Will Survive. Also #1 in the UK. The song was originally released as the B-side to a song first recorded by the Righteous Brothers called Substitute. It was a sad day on this day in 1988. Younger brother of the Bee Gees, Andy Gibb, died in a hospital. His death from myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, followed a long battle with cocaine addiction, which had weakened his heart. In the words of the late, great Rick James, cocaine's a hell of a drug. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. On this day in 2009, tickets. Now let me ask you about this.
All right.
Listen to this one.
Yes.
This fucking guy. It's this
Rick-
fucking guy. All right.
Rick
In this day
Wakeman?
in 2009. No, Rick Wakeman. Good one. Way to bring it full circle. Tickets for a one-off gig by Sir Paul McCartney in Las Vegas sold out in 7 seconds after going on sale. The former Beatle was booked to perform an opening of the new joint at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino on April 19th, 2009 in front of 4,000 fans. Tickets cost $750 each. How many times is this guy fucking, Paul McCartney's going on, this is it. This was a one-off. No, it wasn't, because he kept playing. He kept touring. A one-off is like getting Frankie Goes to Hollywood back together, and they do one show, and that's it.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Are you suggesting... Are you suggesting that Paul McCartney kind of like followed in the footsteps of The Who and said, I'm retiring, or a final tour, or any of that stuff? Because I don't think he ever did.
What is a one-off?
Instead of doing a full-blown tour, it's just like a one-show thing that they're doing.
Right, and then 8 months later he goes on tour.
Well, but
okay.
that's different.
I don't know. I think one-offs, unless it's a band that has not been.
I think you're being like Putin right now. You just backed yourself into a corner. You don't know how to get out of it.
On this day in 2010, Pink Floyd won a court battle with the EMI that prevented the record company. Now check this out. In this, we didn't get to MP3s, but Pink Floyd won a court battle with the EMI that prevented the record company from selling single downloads and ringtones on the internet from the group's albums. Pink Floyd's back catalog was second only in sales to the Beatles. You know how easy it is? I could make a fucking Pink Floyd ringtone in literally 17 seconds on my phone.
Sure.
Because of technology, right?
Yeah, but
this
when
was
did
only
this
2010.
occur?
This was 2010. So they can't sell them, right? They prevented EMI from selling singles and ringtones of their music. But meanwhile, in 2010, that was the big Napster attack, right? When Napster changed music.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit different. If you have a record company that's doing that type of thing without your expressed knowledge or permission, I think as a band, in terms of them marketing or kind of selling off your intellectual property, that, if a band doesn't want to be,
well, they were going to get money for it. Of course, they get residuals for it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they don't want to cheapen their music by having it be fucking ringtones.
Yeah, well, you know what? Welcome to the fucking 20th century, the 21st century.
I understand
because you know how much
that.
money they lost by not doing that?
Do you think they care? How much money do you think the guys in Pink Floyd were?
Metallica cared.
Yeah, they cared, and it actually hurt them, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Pink Floyd should have just said, "Can we make money off this? Are they giving it away?" No. But what people did, once you got one of these, an iPhone, you could make any ringtone you wanted for free.
Listen, there are some bands and some musicians out there that are more than willing to sell their music and the rights to the music to be used in commercials and ringtones and everything else. And there are other musicians out there that don't want to do that. They should have the right to make that choice. And if the record company went ahead and did that without their knowledge and without
they were going to do it. It wasn't without their knowledge. They said, we want to do this. And Pink Floyd said no. And EMI must have said, well, you're under contract with us. We're going to do this.
Yeah. So
you're under contract. So they said, we don't want them to be ringtones and single downloads. Because they didn't understand the technology that was coming. EMI did.
No, they knew that they were going to get screwed. Like a lot of people are getting screwed right now in terms of the way that their music is being marketed.
Isn't that the way it's always been? Isn't a 1% of fucking musicians, 1% of musicians make millions off their albums, or the rest?
No, but look, there's a growing number of musicians out there right now that are complaining that, whether it's Amazon or Apple or Spotify or whatever it is, that they're getting pennies pennies on the dollar, and that most of the money is actually being made by the platforms.
So
if
you know
Pink
what they're
Floyd,
not doing though? They're not having to pay record companies. Like a lot of these bands can record now because of technology in their own studios, and they release it. And just like the old bands used to complain about, they got pennies on the dollar for every album sold. Now these people are like, hey, I don't have to deal with record companies. You're always going to have to deal with somebody in the record industry. You know who's making it on his own? Tom McDonald. Tom McDonald,
I don't know who that is.
He's a white rapper, because you're not into hip hop. You don't understand.
This
dude is number one on
not
Apple.
Cool. Wait a minute. I know. I don't know one guy, and you labeled me that way.
Well,
That's
he's the hottest rapper in the world right now. He's number one. Every album, every single he's put out has gone number one on Apple and on Spotify. Number one.
That's absolutely.
But that's the ratings charts now. That's how these things get rated now.
But let me ask you this question. Do you think that most of these people that are self-producing, self-promoting or whatnot, that it's a good thing that they don't have to answer to record companies, or is it a bad thing?
No, I think it's a good thing. Record companies served a purpose, but they were bloodsuckers. They did lead these bands in the right direction to get promoted. They gave the bands what, and I'm not agreeing with them. Don't get me wrong. I'm being devil's advocate here. They gave them what they asked for. You want success, you want to tour, you want to live the life. Only very few of them had the vision, like Mick Jagger had the vision, right? A lot of these other guys, they went along for the ride, and when it was over, they were like, what just happened, right? So record companies gave them what they wanted, but in the meantime, behind the back. Now, how about, let's break it down to band managers. How many managers have fucked over their band? Right?
Oh, yeah. Most of them.
Yeah, exactly. Record industry, the music industry is brutal. It's brutal.
Well, the thing that I don't know the answer to this is, with people doing self-promotion, with the lack of push that comes from a record company, does it make it easier for a band to make it big, or does it make it more difficult?
That's a good question. I think that goes back to one of our episodes when we talked about, is rock dead and all that, and when we said, all right, and I think I asked you the question, is there too much music now? Like Mark Smith just commented, and he agrees. Record companies are bloodsuckers, but at least they let bands develop back then. These bands jump right into the fucking fire. So it's a jungle out there to live in that MP3 world. It was good for the beginning of that wave. They all benefited, but then everybody jumped on board. You know, so I think it's better to go with a record company.
Yeah, I think in some situations, the fact that a record company was actually being prescriptive and they were pushing certain things, I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing. And I also think it's also a good thing that people don't have to bow down to the record companies, that they can produce their own records. They can do it in their living room if they want to, right?
Yes.
They don't have to sign their blood-sucking deal of the record company. They can put out their music, but I think it's probably a lot more challenging for them to actually scale and to become as popular as you could without that machine behind you. You know, I almost equate it for the casual music listener. It's almost like going to the supermarket in the cereal aisle.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with, if you're coming from a different country, and you walk into, Kroger's or whatever your market is down there, and you walk into that cereal aisle, and there's 500 or 600 different brands of cereal, it can be confusing. And I think music can be that way as well, without kind of a central machine pushing that stuff.
Yeah, and let me reference this guy again, Tom McDonald. He owns his own music. His girlfriend does all the videos, right? He had he just released a vinyl album, and he signed every single one of them. Like him and they were boxing them up and they were sending them out. He said, nobody owns me. And the dude is killing it, but he is lightning in a bottle. This guy fucking ground it out. He ground it out to get to how he got there. and he struck lightning. You know, he struck gold with, you know, his lyrics in social media. You know, if you catch that wave, well, any artist is going to make money, right?
Well, I think that's one of the good things is, you know, from an independent standpoint, you know, you don't have to be playing Madison Square Garden. You can still carve out a living playing the music that you want, and you can get it out to people. You know, I mean, it's a balance, right? There's good and bad to both sides of it.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't even get into the. Maybe we could pick this up at the beginning of the next show. You know, we could skip past the cassettes.
I'm not going to be on the next show.
Oh, that's right. Then I'll save it for that. That's not going to be here next week. So,
No, I'll be there. I'll be here next week. I think it's the week after.
Yeah, but I wanted to get into the whole in the MP3 invasion, Napster and LimeWire, and that changed everything. But we could talk about that next week. That's a good conversation because there's a lot of reasons behind how things happened, why they happened, why people did what they did, why music groups did what they did. And that was a pretty interesting time in music. So, and I just want to give a shout out to my new friend, Cynthia Sayre. She is the host of the True Hauntings and Scary Stories podcast. She does a great job. I am now officially her video editor for her YouTube channel that she's going to start release. Oh, Jack's making the face. See, Cynthia's a nice girl.
She's a
I don't
very
think she's
nice
going to
girl.
appreciate that.
She's a very nice girl. I wasn't making faces at her. I was making faces at you.
Why?
And by the way,
Jack,
you know,
paint, you play the guitar, you photography. I do a little photography, but see, your stuff is that stuff. I like my stuff, editing.
I think it's wonderful. I
and
think it's
creating,
fantastic.
and yeah.
By the way, hey, we shouldn't really sign off without making mention of Gary Brooker's death. Oh,
by the way, born on this day, Tom Schultz from Boston, right? The group Boston. Rick Rubin, right? Co-founder of Def Jam Records with Russell Simmons and established American Recordings record company. I think he's a guy that probably takes care of his people, Rick Rubin. But I think he's one of those record labels that you got to be really fucking good to get on his label. That guy's a genius.
But how does that segue from what I said about Gary Brooker?
Well, we're getting there. And then
okay. All right, it's coming.
Born on this day in 1963 also, Jeff Ament. Yeah, bass player from Pearl Jam. Can you believe fucking Jeremy came out in 1992? Like, that still blows my fucking mind. That song came out in 1992. It's like, I if you had asked me without thinking, I'd say, oh, it's like 2001. You know.
Well, you know what? It's funny.
92.
Like if you go back a couple of years now, right? You know, with the whole COVID thing and whatnot. Like, a lot of people don't even realize that Pearl Jam still records records.
I know.
You know. They still think of Pearl Jam and those first couple of records, and you know, once they got away from MTV and whatnot, that they thought that Pearl Jam kind of, you know, just kind of went off into the sunset. But the last time that Pearl Jam came to Boston, they sold out Fenway Park, not once, but twice. 2 nights,
yeah.
not in a row. It was 2 nights.
I think everybody sells out Fenway. I think it's a novelty. That
2 nights? 2 nights?
I think probably, if depending on the band, I think Springsteen could sell it out 2 nights. I think
I think
a lot of bands could sell it, and but Pearl Jam is up there in that stratosphere.
But I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make, is like, a lot of people don't realize that they're in that stratosphere. And a lot of people have lost touch with Pearl Jam. They know the first 2 records, and they might know Better Man, but they don't know the 8 albums that came after that.
Yeah.
That what
You're
a
right.
prominent, consistent band they've been. They've been unbelievable, and one of the greatest live bands to see on the circuit today.
I was fortunate to see them with Phil Kelly out at what used to be Foxwoods. Yeah, it was a good show.
What do you mean? What used to be Foxwoods? Foxwoods is still there.
Isn't it called something else though? Isn't it?
Are you talking about Mohegan Sun?
No, the amphitheater out there.
Foxwoods. What are you talking? I don't know what.
What's the amphitheater out there in Massachusetts? It's
You mean the Xfinity Center?
I guess I don't know.
It was great. It was Great Woods.
Great Woods. Yeah,
And it was
the casino.
It was the Comcast Center, and
yeah.
That place has changed names a bunch of times.
So is the West Palm Beach amphitheater. That's all I call is the West Palm Beach amphitheater because it's ridiculous. But yeah,
you still haven't gotten
Foxwoods is a casino. Great Woods was the
Are you still getting a Gary Brooker?
So on this day in 2022, Jack talked about Gary Brooker. There you go. That's your intro.
Oh, I just think it's worth noting that Gary Brooker passed last week. I think he was. So he was the keyboard player and principal songwriter and lead vocalist of Procol Harum.
Yeah, and most people can't name another song other than "Paler Shade of Gray" by Procol Harum.
Yeah, not even you could do it.
Yeah,
it's whiter shade of pale.
Whatever the fuck it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, that single sold more than
skin the life Fandango.
That single sold more than 10 million copies.
It's a good song. It is a good song.
It's a great song.
Yeah, and that's their only song. So why would you honor a guy who's a keyboard player on one song that people know?
He's more prominent. He's more prominent than that. He played on All Things Must Pass, with George Harrison. He played on a bunch of Kate Bush albums. He was in Ringo Starr's All-Star Band.
He's a studio guy.
He's had a long-standing history. I just thought it would be worthwhile to make note of it. That's all.
Once again, who am I?
If you want to tiptoe and dance on his grave, go ahead.
I'm about to redeem myself before I was rudely interrupted. Like, who am I to talk about Gary Brooker when the guy was, he was everywhere in music. And I'm sitting here doing a fucking podcast with you.
Hey, come on. He did that great shady gray of white.
Yeah, pale shade of gray.
There's one liner note. There's one liner note you didn't read.
I had a Procol Harum album. I never listened to it.
Yeah, that's because you were busy listening to Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, it was a big production with Rick Wakeman. Oh, you know what the Rick Wakeman album was? Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, the funny thing about Rick Wakeman is like he had this massive keyboard setup, but he always wore a cape.
Yeah, he was better than Gary Brooker, keyboard guy.
Come on.
Yeah. Hey, I put Rick Wakeman against any keyboard player. The album was Journey to the Center of the Earth. It was a pretty fucking cool album.
It is terrible.
Pretty cool album. No, it's okay. It is.
No.
I tried to sleep that one in.
I think that's one of the things that I've learned over the years. I have an appreciation. So this almost goes back to the whole Jethro Tull thing. Look, you're a synth guy. I kind of like more of the edgy punk stuff. I don't think either of us are big prog guys. I think we have an appreciation for some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it.
I agree.
But the Rick Wakeman 18-minute keyboard solo.
Is Yes in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah, they are.
They are? Okay.
Yeah. Is the only reason I know that is they were only inducted a handful of years ago. And
like 5 years ago, I think it was. Like 5
their original bass player, Chris Squire, had passed. So Geddy Lee of Rush actually sat in for their performance at the
nice substitute.
Hall of Fame.
Nice substitute.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Tom Spallins comments in from YouTube. On this day in 2016, the great Keith Emerson shot himself dead.
Yep. Emerson, Lake, and Robert Palmer.
Yeah. And Robert Palmer. Well, he's dead too.
Arnold Palmer? He's dead too. Oh, God.
Greg Lake's, I still, his Father Christmas is one of my favorite Christmas songs by Greg Lake.
That's kind of proggy. That's a little proggy.
I think we discussed that during the Christmas show.
Yeah, that's
you don't particularly like it too much. I love it.
You know what? It's okay. I don't.
This motherfucker, Tom Spallone says, "Well, it's really tomorrow, but close enough." He got in on the show. He snuck us. Motherfucker snuck us. Because I would have saw it in my notes. Son of a bitch, he got us. Tom Spallone.
The old Keith Emerson.
Yeah. Well, we're not doing a show tomorrow, so okay, you got it in. You got us.
Ooh, what a lucky man he wasn't.
He wasn't. Oh, yeah. So, well, all right, listen, I think we're done for this show.
So what is that? Like an hour and 45 minutes?
Hour and 35.
So this is like a Rick Wakeman album. It's like a Rick Wakeman solo.
Good one. Let's see. There you go.
Dude, hour and 30 minutes. This is like a Yes song. It's like, two sides.
Hey, don't start running the joke into the ground. Walk away. Away.
Sorry. Hey, nothing to see here, people.
Don't be like a 12-year-old and keep repeating the same joke just in different, form. All right. Well, Jack, buddy, I always appreciate your time. I love you. Thank you for doing this with me. I want to thank the people for watching, the people that are listening. You are the engine that drives this vehicle. Without you, it would just be me talking to Jack, and we do that all the time anyways.
Yeah, by the way, we don't need you people. We appreciate that you're here, but if you weren't here, we'd still be doing this show.
We'd still be talking like this to each other, just on the phone.
You are an idiot.
There you go. Well, if you like the show, share it. Tell people about it. That's how we do this. I'm not into the big promotional podcast thing. I like the grassroots, word of mouth.
No, we need a record label to push us.
If people like it, that's how things spread in the podcast world. So if you like it, share it, tell someone about it. We'd appreciate
See that?
It. Again,
we're grassroots, like his buddy Ronald McDonald. What was that guy's name again? Chris McDonald?
Chris McDonald.
Joe McDonald?
Country Joe.
Country Joe.
Anyways, well, we'll be back next week. Again, pass this along if you like it. Tell people about it. Yeah, good show, buddy. Good show.
Always a lot of fun, man. Thanks to everybody that is listening or has listened or will listen. We appreciate you.
Yes, and doing this show for you, to quote my favorite artist, Morrissey, the pleasure, the privilege is mine. So
it's not my favorite artist.
We'll see you next week. Shut up.